So this is what I wanted to start off with today. We've got I love Effie. I really do. I have a soft spot in my heart for Effie. I think he's a as Bret Hart would say, a jam up guy. I think he's cool, and especially when it comes to his opinions about the business of pro wrestling, I think he has some very very cutting and alternative takes to what you usually hear that make a lot of sense to me and that I can appreciate, right? Iffy is clearly a guy who is not bothered about being signed anywhere. He's made that clear for a very, very long time and has always been extremely authentic. He's always been true to himself, and I can appreciate that. And I like him. I really do. But then I hear this clip from his show, and I'm going to run it for you guys and gals and non-binary pals. And look, it's I'm not making a complete 180 on Effie here. I'm not suddenly like, it's nothing serious. It's nothing cancelable. He didn't say, like, he's not going around, using slurs or anything. No. But he had a weird take. He had a strange take, and I don't understand it. And I've been trying to make sense of it, and it doesn't make sense to me. But we're going to listen to it, okay? This is from his podcast, Weekend at Effie's is what it's called.
We are moving forward to...
Well, that's very... Hang on, that's not loud at all.
And let me
boost this.
Let me be honest, all right? I'm not going to sound
be
bitter.
frank?
I'm going to be fucking frank. We
This
announced
is as
the
loud
show.
as it gets,
It's
folks.
big. We're returning almost 3 years later to the date. Big time. And there's no way it's not going to make me sound like somebody could clip this and be like, he's being a jealous bitch. Not only like 2 weeks later, AEW announces they're going to do the same venue 3 nights. For them, it would be considered a smaller venue.
Okay, so basically, just to make things clear here, he's talking about the Hammerstein. He's talking about GCW running the Hammerstein, and I was like, we're running it, and then next thing you know, 2 weeks later, AEW announces that they're running the Hammerstein, right?
Ring of Honor historically has used this venue. WWE has historically used this venue. ECW has historically used this venue. There's a lot of wrestling history in this venue. The current Ring of Honor is not what Ring of Honor was before. It's mostly just kind of their AEW dark product. I understand they want to do it. It's very exciting for people to do it. I don't understand why there's no exclusivity to wrestling. I guess we didn't negotiate it.
True. This is something that these big companies do, right? They book the venue for a date, and then within that window, there's whatever window it is, usually 90 days. You can't have another wrestling show in that venue.
But it's very confusing that like within the same month, y'all got to run the same venue as us. When for us as an independent, this is a larger thing. For you, this is a way to cover up the fact that a Ring of Honor pay-per-view right now could not sell out the tickets you think it could. And even asking Daniel Bryan to come back for the last...
He calls him Daniel Bryan. He's using the dead name, right?
Big one he did in Texas to come to that show still wasn't that sold on.
All right. So I'm not crazy about the takeover. Like, he's not entirely wrong on things, okay? The fact that what he says here, right, is that, AEW is going to be running smaller venues to sort of cover up the fact that they can't fill big venues is absolutely true. Like, that is absolutely true. And I said cover up, but it's, just to, it's a good, it's a good take. And it makes sense, but it's also like good business that AEW is doing this because they have to try and fix this situation where they're filling out, basketball arenas with about a quarter of the building, and a quarter is generous, right? So they transitioning to smaller venues in the state that they're in right now makes a lot of sense. And yes, he is absolutely right. They're trying to fill out. The they're going to run. They tried running Ring of Honor shows, big shows at bigger venues in the past. And well, specifically the one in Texas that he's talking about, and they couldn't fill it up. They even brought in Danielson. That didn't work as well. So, it all makes sense, right? So on that front, he's right. And it's something that we talk a lot about on this channel in regards to the business of AEW, in regards to the ticket buying public. AEW is not in a good spot right now. The company is not in a good spot. Now, where I take a little exception is where he seems to be implying that ticket sales for the People versus GCW, which is the show that they're running at the Hammerstein, is not necessarily doing well. And the reason for that is because AEW booked the venue as well. And I'm like, hang on a minute here. And now let's pump the brakes a little bit and let's just go ahead and start looking at some facts here. Yeah, that's right. I come in prepared. I got this all settled up. GCW returning to the Hammerstein Ballroom in January 2025. This was announced on October 17, 2024. This is when this is the day that GCW did the People versus did the announcement. They did the little video here. You've probably seen it. And this happened to be announced on October 21st. Okay. It's been a month more. It's been exactly a month today that this show has been announced. Okay. Tickets were put on sale. This is the WrestleTix ticket on the day tickets were put on sale. The show just went on sale. Cheapest ticket is $61, right? January 19th, the People versus GCW. Tickets were put on sale on October 21st, 2024. All right? A little, exactly a month. Exactly a month. Like pinpoint a month away. And the show's not doing well. The show's not selling well. 691 tickets. Like we're still under 700 tickets distributed according to WrestleTix. Okay? So what hand did AEW have in diverting the ticket sales? Because Effie's logic is sound in the sense that if you are a smaller independent and you are running the same venue as a big one within a 30-day span, there is a fair chance that the ticket buying public is going to buy a ticket for the bigger show than yours. That I completely concur with. So the question we have here is, when did AEW announce that it was running the Hammerstein? On November 19, 2024. Just a little over a month past the announcement that GCW was running the Hammerstein. So this doesn't make sense. And I think like the tickets for Hammerstein went on sale today on the 21st, a full month after GCW put their tickets on sale. And it took we have a full moon cycle that has passed, and GCW, without knowledge of any competition, heading out to the Hammerstein, right? Any other wrestling show heading to the Hammerstein, they had a full month to get their tickets out there and put them in the hands of their fans. And they still, at this point, at the moment that we're recording this on November 21st, according to WrestleTix, still have not passed 700 tickets distributed. Still have not done that yet. So I don't see now. Sure. I think it was last week. Was it last week that there were rumors that AEW was going to run the Hammerstein? Right? Wasn't it last week? I believe. And it was going to be like, yeah. Even if it was last week, you still had like almost a full month. Like like 25 days or so to sell your tickets, and they're just not moving. The tickets are not moving for the show, for the GCW show. And I feel to see the correlation with AEW. And I would have the exact same thought if WWE was running the Hammerstein at that date instead of AEW. I'd be like, no, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for Effie to be coming out here and saying, basically implying that the GCW show isn't selling tickets because AEW's horning in on our racket a month apart and taking up all our tickets and taking, they're blowing our spot essentially. And the show, the GCW show's in January. It's not as if you're suddenly like, it's not as if they're 2 weeks apart. There's a month separating them. The fact of the matter is, and this is the cold hard truth, is that GCW is not even remotely as hot as it was back at the first Hammerstein show, which did sell out in a flash, right? We remember that. Sold out just like that. Now it's a struggle. The show's not remote. The company is not remotely as hot. And that's the reality. And I think that a lot of the draws that were there back in the day are no longer there. I don't think the talent exchange that was happening back in the day is going to be as open for the People show as it was for the World on GCW. And that's just the cold, hard reality of it. And, like I said, I respect Effie a tremendous deal. I'm a little surprised with his take. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's anchored in reality. I think I think it's a vibe. He's just talking. It's a gut feeling. It's just a vibe. But because when you look honestly at the you look at the facts and how everything played out, you can't necessarily. GCW had already plateaued with their ticket sales back then. Now, could you make an argument that maybe over the holidays people would change their minds, so on and so forth? Sure, they still can, because the Hammerstein shows are happening in December. That there'll still be weeks left before GCW comes into Hammerstein. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest take. Brett has his own thoughts. Check Discord DMs. You got something for me, pal? Little Fightful article here. Brett Lauderdale comments on AEW running Hammerstein less than 30 days before GCW. Let's just go to the speaking on the business of the business podcast. GCW promoter Brett Lauderdale was asked about the timing of AEW running Hammerstein. That being said, like before I read anything, I think we're all aware that the relationship between Brett and Tony Khan is a little chillier than what it used to be. I'm not saying that they're completely at each other's throats, they're at odds, but I don't know Tony Khan personally, and I don't know enough of their people well enough to know or to speculate that they would particularly do something like that just to hurt us. That being said, the traditional etiquette would be there is a window where you don't go to the same buildings. Should that window exist, you call it an unwritten rule, or in many cases, it's a written rule. I'm sure when AEW goes to venues, they probably have a rule written in their. Probably have a rule written in that no other wrestling show can go there within 30 days or 60 days. It's a pretty standard practice in the wrestling business and a lot of entertainment industries, both written and unwritten. Do I think they literally set out to look for a way to hurt GCW? I'm not ready to go that far with it. Do I think that maybe it wasn't the most polite thing to do? Maybe. They are a billionaire company with endless resources and run multiple television shows every week so they could run an event there anytime they wanted. They don't have to do it in December or January. They can do it in February, March, April, etc. They could do it every month they wanted to, but they chose to do it in late December, which is less than 30 days before we are there. It's not the greatest of circumstances for us. I don't understand I understand what he's saying. But Brett, here's the hard data. Here are the facts. GCW announced their show weeks before AEW did. These tickets for the Hammerstein show in January were put on sale on October 21st. The tickets for the Hammerstein show for AEW were put on sale on November 21st. There was a full month that separated from the sales start dates of both, right? We're okay with that. We're comfortable with that. The ticket sales for the People versus GCW have ostensibly stagnated. They are not climbing. They are in the same vicinity of what they were after the first week of sale in the general public. They still have not went over 700 distributed tickets for the show. So you have Tony coming in with his show, which I can agree. If the common courtesy is just to be like, hey, don't do it within a month. Well, you could have done it differently, right? You could have waited a bit. But the point is that the fact is there is tangible proof that GCW's ticket sales had already plateaued, and maybe they would have generated a little more interest. I don't know. But regardless, I don't even think these audiences cross over. Just like Ross and Found, good old Vape Ross Vape, popping in the chat. How you doing? Nice to see you and welcome. And who is also a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel. How you doing, Ross? I don't think there's that much crossover between these two fan bases as well. Maybe there was a time that there was. But I don't think it's the case anymore. I don't think the crossover is as complete as it used to be. And I think GCW is also not even remotely as hot as it used to be. And I think that this is now just going to be a super convenient excuse for GCW to say, well, the show didn't sell well because AEW. I think that's legitimately this is the narrative that we're constructing, because Brett's not a dummy, and he was looking at his figures, and he was getting reports from Ticketmaster or whatever. He was getting his reports and not seeing any movement. He's not a dummy, and he's like, man, these tickets aren't moving. We got to do something. And now he sees AEW move in. What? So he's like, well, there we go. There's our ace. There's the way we're going to protect our ass. This is how we're not going to be exposed, because we'll be able to put emphasis on the fact that AEW came in, took that spot, and that hurt us. That ended up hurting us. The little indie that could. That's us, and we're being destroyed by a billionaire company. And you see, he used the word billionaire in here, and they're trying to get us. Well, he said, well, I don't have proof to say they're trying to get us, but they could have waited. They could have done it any other time, but they chose to do it there. Like, that's the narrative that Brett is developing to cover his ass for the fact that his company is cold as ice right now. It's just as simple as that.